As you're going through this process of hiring, you had certain expectations, certain things that you wanted. Can you give us an idea of what you were looking for with that VA?
Yeah, I'm looking for somebody. So I say legal assistant, but there are some paralegal components to what we were looking for this particular hire. So we want this particular VA to be able to understand Texas law, to be able to research, to be able to have an idea or at least loosely understand the process, the litigation process or the transaction process. A lot of it's quality traits, and looking for somebody who can go out there and do their own research and be handed a task and just be able to take it and run with it.
So how realistic, it seems like for people who don't understand hiring a VA out of the Philippines, and then you got United States or Texas attorneys and working and understanding all of that, it's like, is that a realistic ask to find somebody who's got those skills?
Yeah, I think it is if you have your processes and systems in place. If you have templates built out, if you have given them the resources to be able to go and research those topics that you're bringing up, and they have maybe past examples to look at. If they're self-sufficient, I think that's realistic.
Okay. Anything you're nervous about with respect to what she's going to be able to take on, or is it really just a matter of not that she's going to win or lose or fail or succeeds, but just what's the timeline on actually executing quick, fast, in a hurry? You know what I mean? Doing a great job there, or where's your head in all that space? I'm curious.
The kind of projects that I anticipate assigning to this VA aren't going to be super duper. I don't need a really fast turnaround on them. It's going to be really helpful to have somebody be doing a lot of the work that I used to do. And so I'm not necessarily, because our systems and processes are in place, I don't need her to do a super duper quick turnaround or anything like that. Not that they wouldn't be able to, but I guess I really don't have a concern, honestly. I think she's going to be able to do whatever we need, to be honest. So,
and then I guess the next question is like when it comes to the quality. So when you and I talked about this, I was like, would you want a Ferrari or do you want a Mercedes-Benz, right? Kind of a thing. And he's want the Ferrari. So it's like the cost of that is significantly lower than it would be in the United States. Mm-hmm. What has yet to be proven, in all fairness, is whether or not she executes at that high level. And we'll continue. I'm very transparent on how my VAs work. I'm like, I want to know, because if there's a problem, let's get it worked out. But when you're going through the hiring process, and I know Stephen handled a lot of that, did you feel like, okay, yeah, was there like unknown, well, there had to have been unknown, and then, okay, this is actually working. We actually are getting what I'm looking for.
Yeah, so part of your hiring process, you have the applicants submit some sort of a video and touch on a couple subjects. And so I reviewed some of those videos with Stephen, and that moment is when I was like, this might work. Why? Because honestly, most of the applicants spoke our language literally and figuratively. Mm-hmm. They literally knew some of the legal jargon, and they were talking about just high-level stuff, and I was blown away.
So do you think they have some background knowledge then in the legal field?
That was a requirement.
Great,
so
yeah.
The cool thing is we listed out, Mark's really good about asking a bunch of preliminary questions about what exactly we're looking for, and some sort of background knowledge or a paralegal certificate or something like that was a requirement for this particular hire.
So that legal knowledge was the table stakes, right? The very first thing that they needed to have in order to be considered. So beyond that, how did you decide who the right person is? What's your interview process look like? Is it gut or is it something more quantitative?
No, that's a great question. I think it's probably a combination of both. So as Mark stated, I wasn't directly the one overseeing this process, but I was loosely involved. But we actually put together a test packet, if you will. So I can't remember if Stephen did what exactly the test packet was, but it was some sort of legal document that they were to read a fact pattern and then look at a past example template and then replicate it with this new fact pattern with new names and stuff like that. I think there's probably a little bit of gut in every hire, right? But there was some sort of background analysis that occurred as well.
Okay. Yeah, what's cool with those tests is it's a customized test that they prepared. Hey, this is what we want to know if this is going to work or not. This is part of their screening process. And then when it takes a couple hours for people to do this kind of stuff, we charge a fee that goes directly to the person taking the test. So they understand I'm going to take an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours out of their day, but they're going to get compensated for that. Okay. So that's part of what we offer. Otherwise, you're not going to get people that take that test, or they're not going to put the effort into it because what am I doing? It's going to get picked or whatever. Whether they get picked or not, they get paid to take the test. But
like
that
you.
only happens for select people that they want to have take the test.
They've been screened. And so what does the onboarding process look like?
Great question. I probably need to build out our onboarding a little bit more.
I know who
So-
can help you with that.
I was
So I'm excited. That's a good question. And honestly, it's a little different because the biggest challenge that I'm trying to overcome right now is how to integrate my staff here with our new VA. And so that's something that I'm trying to figure out, how to get everybody to work together, and when they need to work together and how they need to work together, and maybe if they even need to work together at all.
Because you have a local staff, right? I assume most of you. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and then so this will be one person who's now a remote member of your team.
Correct.
Okay, so thinking about how you integrate that person is critical, because what you have is an island now. You have someone who's out there on their own. Will this person work for anybody else, or just solely for you?
That's another good point.
Okay.
Primarily just supporting another partner at the firm and myself.
Okay.
So that's what I'm trying to figure out. Do I even need them to interact on what level? And maybe I do. I probably want them to be able to, but to what extent and how?
You want them to feel connected to you guys. So having somebody on your staff, whether it's you or whatever, as their primary point of contact that meets with them. Doing a morning check-in would be great, right? If you have somebody on your staff already that could do that, perfect. They're going to check in and make sure everything is going good. These are what tasks are going to get done today, any special instructions. And then the once a day is like bare minimum when you first start. That's the best situation to have. As you move along, you can just spread that out farther. We meet with our team twice a day, right? And not me. Typically, I'll be on one of them. I'm not necessarily on both of them.
Okay.
Jennifer, my wife, is heading up that, making sure that meeting gets done. Or we have our HR person, Abby, that will meet with them.
And what are you going over in these meetings?
Just, hey, give me an update. What's going on? And then I'll get a rundown of what's going on in the hiring, what's going on my social media team, and then what's going on with my executive assistant, appointments and so forth like that. Any issues coming up, but 10 minutes, you can be in and out in 10 minutes.
That's what my next question was, is how long?
Yeah. So you hit those high points. Everybody should be doing an end of day report as well. So
I have to say, I love that you have 10-minute meetings. I don't know how we got to a workplace where every meeting had to be 30 minutes or an hour. I think a 10-minute meeting is brilliant.
that's part of training is, look, and I've had to tell them, I don't want to be rude, but all I need to know is,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? This is it. Because let's just get in at it. I don't need to know all the nuances of everything.
So then when you say connected, are you talking about connected to the sticks and the bricks, the operation, or are you also talking about that human connection?
Human connection for sure. Well, I mean,
Because that could take more than 10 minutes.
it can, but so we've got a couple things in place for that. Like my wife will do coffee with them once a month or something like that. So she's meeting, hey, it's a girl talk, right? It's just not really a place for me to do that kind of stuff. It's all female staff.
You could try.
But I don't really want to, if I'm being fair. But so she can do that girl talk, and they can go through that stuff. But I always, during our meetings, will give them like positive feedback. Hey, great job on this. I'm very specific on things and stuff like that.
I'm confused. How do you do coffee with virtual assistants?
Yeah, you just do it on Zoom, or we
good old
use Google
Zoom.
Meet.
Brilliant. Okay.
FaceTime.
No,
Meet.
is this coffee time happening with like my VA that you're onboarding as well, or is
Nope.
this just your internal staff?
Just our team,
Okay,
yeah.
because I know y'all do a lot with our, like for example, my hire. Y'all are they're integrated with your staff as well. Is that right?
They do a weekly check-in.
Okay.
Just to make sure everything's going good, because we like to catch, if there's going to be a problem, we like to catch it early. That's on the client side as well, too. So the clients are getting time clock in and clock out reports and all that, but they're also checking in, make sure everything's copacetic. Again, catching those problems early is critical to overall success for both the VA and the client,
Okay.
which is our ultimate goal anyway. But it's interesting you brought up about the onboarding side of things. Thinking in the VA space, is there something that we should be paying more attention to? Or you don't really know my process, but what do you think is important to pay attention to when it comes to integrating an entire virtual crew together with maybe a legal staff who would stay on point with the legal stuff?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. It's something that every business owner should be thinking about, because what you want when you're bringing people on is someone who's going to be there for a long time and who's going to bring their best work. Yep. And people do their best work people work best where they feel their best. And so that human connection that you're talking about is a critical piece of that. You talked about systems and processes, so that is absolutely there. But then it's about looking out for opportunities to make those individual human connections build relationships. with people. So you have to build somewhere into your onboarding process an opportunity to get to know people on an individual basis. So what I would do is whoever they're going to report to, day one, make sure they meet that person and make sure they're asking questions that they're getting to know each other. And then day 30, have another check-in. If you haven't talked to them in 30 days, though you should have, you probably should be talking weekly. But at day 30, make sure this is a structured part of your onboarding process. Check in. Okay, so how have the first 30 days gone? What questions do you have? What concerns do you have? Is this the job you thought it was going to be? If not, where could we clarify? Day 60, then start talking about development. Start talking about progress. You've been here for 60 days. How do you feel about the work you're doing? And then where do you want to go from here? And yes, it's not too soon to talk about progress and development and growth, because that's where people stay, places where they feel like they can do this job and then do so much more. So having that 60-day process in there, and then at 90 days, a formal review.
Can you go into that again? Why do people stay?
People stay because they feel good about where they work.
And because you said something about progress, being able to do more.
Yeah, people stay with organizations where they feel they can grow and progress. They don't, I would say most people, and this is my view, 25 years working with people, take a job for the money. They stay for the people. They stay for the progress. They stay for the development. Do you buy that?
I will like what you just said. It's interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, and I can echo that because I've heard feedback from my team, and they're like, they don't want to ever leave. It's like they feel connected
That's
to
amazing.
each other, and they also know that at least from what I'm hearing, we're a good place to work. We're good bosses, if you will.
When it comes to human capital, the 3 tenets that I believe is attract, retain, develop.
Yep.
If you as an organization don't have that for your employees, why would they want to stay? I love
Yeah,
here
absolutely.
that